Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is entitled I Was Stabbed on Friday. Let's get straight into that. I posted this earlier, but it was removed for a title issue. Please bear with me, as I'm trying to type this all up with one hand and about 6 hours of sleep since it all started. On Friday, my girlfriend Jenna and I had a few friends over to celebrate us moving into a new, nicer condo. We had moved out of the slums and finally bought a place we could start transforming into a home. Matt, Nadia, Danny and Amber came over around 5 and we immediately started cooking and drinking. I had the grill fired up and the speakers blasting a new playlist I had made earlier in the day for the occasion. Everyone was having a blast. I'm sure those of you who have moved understand how stressful a situation it can be, especially since this new small town we moved to was almost an hour away from our hometown. I was lucky enough to land a very good job for one of the tech Goliaths. They are big on privacy. And Jenna landed a great job managing a kitchen. After the stress of the move and the unpacking, this was exactly what we needed. The sun was setting and everyone was full and buzzed. We lived less than a mile from small town's green and downtown area, which consisted of 3 bars, a tattoo shop, an antique shop, a small clothing store and a few other small shops. One stuck out to me as soon as I saw it. It was a dark shop stuck by itself at the end of the strip. The Dark Cauldron on the storefront window, in hand-drawn window paint read, Wiccan arts, palm readings, spiritual cleanses and crafts. So, have you been to any of the bars downtown yet? Matt asked as we were all sitting around the glass table in our backyard. No, honestly we haven't had time. We haven't been downtown at all, actually, besides driving through it, I replied, reaching in the cooler next to the grill and grabbing another beer. Tossing one to him as well, he cracked it open, firing foam all over his shirt, shaking the beer off his hand before taking a sip. Oh my god, guys. We have got to go and check it out. We have got to walk down there, Nadia suggested, the alcohol fueling her enthusiasm. Now, I'm not sure why. Usually, I'm a very social person. However, for some reason, I just had a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. I wonder if I had said something, none of this would be happening. I didn't want to go downtown, but I was alone in that opinion. I didn't want to ruin the vibe, and Jenna was so excited about the idea. She had been under so much stress, and I didn't want to add any more to that. We have all this beer still. Let's have a few more before we go, Danny added. To which I quickly agreed, hoping that this would kill some of the fire on venturing out off the safety net that was our new backyard. But no such luck. A few hours later, we were marching down my street, a little louder than the quiet neighbourhood probably deserved. Jenna jumped on my back while Matt and I were reciting a funny story about our childhood. The group was laughing and spirits were very high. I had actually forgotten about the feeling in my stomach from earlier. After about 4 minutes of walking, we could see the movement of the weekend nightlife in a not so far distance. Music could be heard and the mumble of large crowd of people talking rang in our ears. I was excited. The first bar on the strip was called The Birdhouse, and it looked to be pretty packed inside. We showed the bouncer our IDs and walked in. And as soon as we turned the corner and walked up to the bar, I saw them. Like a vulture scanning for dead roadkill from the sky. They zoned in on us. A group of 4 guys, all looking to be around age mid-20s. We're sitting at a booth in the corner, looking at them. It wasn't easy to tell really 2 things right off the bat. First, they were regulars. The way they just sat there, totally relaxed, not on their guard at all. I'm not sure how it works in other parts of the country, but where I grew up, there was always a sense of readiness when going into a place that you didn't feel completely comfortable in. You know, like a bar. Second, they were drunk. Very drunk. I looked away, not trying to have an unneeded confrontation. This being our new home, it seemed like the smartest thing to do. Last thing we needed was to pick fights with the locals. We found an empty spot at the old wooden bar. I ordered the first round for everyone. One of the guys stood up and walked over to us. He was their ringleader. I looked back at the table. The three were now tensed up and waiting to see what happened. The leader bumped into me as he made his way to the bar. "Well, well, well, what do we have here?" he said, stopping to look me in the eyes and scan our group. I smelled the vodka on his breath. It wasn't that I was worried about physically being able to best the group. With Matt and Danny, I was actually very confident that it wouldn't be an issue. I just didn't want the cops to come and see that these new two inner city kids had moved to their town and started bar fights. You know, it's not a good look. I started to turn to walk away, but he grabbed my arm. "What's your name?" "Nick," I answered, letting him know that his act weren't going to work on me. That's all he was doing, putting on an act. He was the wolf, and he wanted to make sure that I knew this was his turf. "You from around here, Nick?" Drunken spittle flew from his lip and landed on my cheek. "Yeah," Jenna started, not realising the situation that was happening in front of her. The girls had a few more shots of Fireball than the guys. No, just visiting family," I interrupted her, not wanting her to let this guy know that we lived here now and very close by. What's your name, darling?" He looked at Jenna. "Well, it isn't darling," I answered for her. "Listen, man, you have yourself a great night. We're going to go on by." I turned and walked away to the back room where we could go stand outside. The bar had a back patio where there were games set up. Cornhole, beer pong, flip cup, things like that. I lit up a cigarette and took a sip of my beer, trying to calm my nerves. Danny and Matt looked at me. They had been ready in case anything went down. "You alright?" Matt asked, seeing that I was irritated. "What the fuck was up with that guy? What was that all about?" Danny followed up. Just some drunk arsehole, I guess." The feeling of not wanting to be here hit me again like a ton of bricks. Just then, the four walked outside, loud and obnoxiously. The ringleader led them over to a spot about 4 feet from us, but they didn't say anything. I looked over and he was staring at me again, fire in his eyes. Options were slim at this point. I chalked it down to a few. Try and ignore them? Not likely. Get the fight over with? Not smart. Leave and try a different bar on the strip? Ding, 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 ding. Matt and Danny agreed. We gathered the girls and we started to walk towards the exit. "Where are you going, Nick?" The voice was right behind me. I turned around. "You know what? We're going to try a different bar. You guys, have a great night. That's it." We left the bar and made our way down the road to the centre, another bar that was a little nicer but not anywhere near as packed. Again, the bouncer checked our IDs and we walked in. The crowd was a little older. Creedence Clearwater was on the jukebox, which I had no complaints about at all. We found a really nice little table in the back, not around anyone, and the mood was brought back up. After about an hour, I was pretty drunk, so forgetting about the confrontation earlier, I got up from the table and walked around the corner to the bar by myself. I was leaning over the bar top waiting for my beer, when suddenly, crack! With no warning at all, I felt the beer bottle smash over the back of my head. On instinct, I turned around, bringing up my left arm to cover my face. Luckily I did that. When I did, because the ringleader from the other bar was already bringing down the jagged glass of the broken bottle, aiming directly for my eye. The glass stuck into my arm and cut me wide open. Once the assailant realised he wasn't getting in my face, he grabbed me by the wrist and started digging the bottle around in my arm. I yelled in a mixture of pain and fury, pushing him off me with my right arm. I didn't realise really how badly I was injured because my adrenaline was kicking into overdrive. It wasn't until I tried to put my fists up in a fighting position and my left arm, well, it wouldn't comply. And then I looked down. There was blood everywhere. The white tile of the bar was covered in red. The ringleader took off out the bar once my friends hightailed it around the corner. The ringleader took off out of the bar once my friends hightailed it around the corner. The bartender jumped over the bar and wrapped my arm up in a bar towel. I was in hospital for a total of 12 hours under intense surgery. In the end, I got lucky. I won't lose any motion in my left arm, and I got to keep my eye, let alone my life. 55 stitches and a hefty bill later, Jenny and I were on our way home at noon the next day. Now, being up for over 24 hours, all I could focus on was sleep. So that's what I did. I slept right away through the night into Sunday. Sunday was hard. I had this feeling in the back of my head like something was really wrong. Jenna and I just bummed around the house, watched movies and had a lazy day. And then at 8 p.m, there was a knock on my door. I recognised the police officer as the first responder in the bar. The young, stone-faced Officer Gregor had to be my age, or maybe even younger. "Hey buddy, how you feeling?" he asked. Like I was stabbed. I chuckled at my joke and looked up to see the look of uncertainty in his face. "Sorry, I need to stop making these jokes. Well, I came by to tell you that we caught the guy. He's in a holding cell at the station." I was indifferent at the news. An immature, stupid part of me was hoping for some sort of pseudo street justice where my friends would find the guy and throw him a beating. "Ah, that's good news. What did he say?" I sat down on one of the deck chairs around the table. Gregor did the same and sighed. "Well, son, this is where it gets a little stranger. I won't lie. He told me, and I quote, 'I don't know this guy. He did nothing to antagonize me. I just heard this voice in my head that told me to kill him. The voice would not let up. It was arguing me to do whatever I could do to hurt this person that it did not even know.'" Gregor let that sink in for a moment. Wow, I honestly don't even know what to say to that. My mind was racing. "Look, I came here on my own accord. You seem like a nice dude. I wanted to warn you, this guy lives literally 2 streets away from you. I wouldn't be surprised if he knows where you live. He also comes from a very, very wealthy family, so when his dad hears about this, he's going to make bail, and if he hasn't already..." Gregor stood up. "Do you understand what I'm saying to you?" Geez, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, heads up." I shook his hand, and he handed me a card. It had his personal number on it. "Quicker than calling the station, son. Lock your doors when you go to bed." I walked back inside and really debated on telling Jenna any of this. I decided it could wait until morning. We ate some dinner, watched a few more episodes of Game of Thrones, and then called it a night. After staring at my dark ceiling for hours, thinking about every little thing I could, my mind finally let me fall asleep. I awoke to a short time after, and there was the 2 cats outside of our bedroom door hissing at something. This was way out of the normal for them. Lionel and Neville were super friendly and timid. I sat up and listened as they were on the other side of the door. Something, obviously, was spooking them. Someone was knocking on our bedroom door. Not the door to get into our condo, but our fucking bedroom door. I shot out of bed and locked it, shaking Jenna to wake up. Since she could sleep through anything, I backed her into the opposite corner of the bedroom and stood in front of her, opening my sock drawer and pulling the 38 snub nose out of it. Jenna started to say something, but I held my hand up. It was so silent. All I could hear was my heart pounding and blood rushing in my ears. The cats had stopped hissing too. It was still pitch black in the room. The only light coming in was from the moon through our window. "May I come in?" The voice made my blood turn to ice. A chill ran up my spine so severely that I was sure it would paralyse me. It was just so unnatural, like it was a recording or someone learning to say the sentence in English for the first time. It felt forced, and it wasn't a question. Someone was just stringing the words together. "May I come in? May I come in? May I come in? May I come in?" My hand was shaking as I was holding a revolver up to the door. I didn't know why I hadn't already fired shots through the door, but I was scared stiff. I shook it off and found some of the spine I thought I had lost. Listen, you have 5 seconds to get the fuck out of our house before I fill you with holes. I shook my head. That sounded stupid, but I wasn't thinking clearly, and hopefully that got my point across. May I come in? No, you can't fucking come in, Jenna shrieked behind me. She almost sounded more confident than I did. There was a grinding sound. Whatever was on the other side of the door was carving something into the solid wood. Jenna plugged her ears and made herself small behind me, crouching down. After the carving was over, I stood there for what seemed like a good hour, waiting, making sure it was gone. I called Officer Gregor and he came right over. The sun was literally just about to rise, so I thanked him for being so readily available. The carving was an upside down triangle, 3 lines on top of each other like a capital E without the connecting line, and a circle. I wish I had taken a picture of it, but Gregor's reaction stuck me so hard I didn't even think of it. He saw the symbol and his face turned pale white. Listen, take this door off the hinges now. Do you have the tools? I'll help you. We need to burn it now. Nick. He was speaking with such conviction that I didn't even think twice about it. We got the door off its hinges and burned it in the pit in my backyard. What is this? I asked. Jenna was next to me. Something I hoped it wouldn't be. I need to go. Get yourself a new door. I'll be in touch in a few hours. Don't worry. It only comes out when the sun is down. You're safe now. He pointed to the sun, peering over the horizon, and then left. I'm going to get myself a new door and wait for his contact. As you can imagine, Jenna and I are a bit uneasy. Wow, hope you guys liked that story. I certainly did when I read it last night. And please do like, comment, share. And remember folks, be safe, not sorry.